Hi, Kate.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can
Because
see you.
I still can't see myself. Never mind. That's all right.
Because it was buffering, so I was just waiting until you joined us.
Yes, it is, and I still can't see myself. So I think we'll keep it like
Oh,
that.
is it?
It's okay.
Okay. No
Yeah,
problem.
no
You can
problem.
you see me?
I can see you, but I cannot see
Okay, we
myself.
can see you. We can see you.
Awesome. Okay. How are you?
I'm good, Kate, and finally it's nice to meet you live virtually.
Nice too. Nice to meet you. Finally, this is how we are seeing each other face to face.
Yeah, I know, but we should probably will meet up when everything settles down from COVID
I
and all
hope
that.
so too. I hope so too. So
So
yeah,
hello
should we?
everyone. So I've got Kate with me. Hope you guys are doing great. So just let's give it a couple more minutes, Kate, until everybody joins, and just tell me what have you been up to during the weekend so
Um,
far.
my week has been really crazy, but it's been productive, so I am really happy with that. I have been doing a few online courses because my work wasn't that busy. So I like to keep
Okay,
myself busy. So I joined a few online courses, and
okay.
I've been doing them. I've just been trying to meet their deadlines and trying to study again, which is not really easy. But
I
that's what
know,
I've
I
been doing.
know. You think online courses are easy, but they are the toughest because it's not same as going to a physical space and studying, right?
Absolutely. And to be honest, after all these years, going back to studying is like, I sometimes I think, what was I thinking? You know? But then
No,
it's, yeah,
that's amazing. It's amazing actually.
it is because I like to keep busy, and then when I'm not busy, I feel like, what am I even doing? So I've wanted to study literature for quite a while. So I found courses
Right.
on literature, which is a great thing. So I just was like, you know what, let's not think at all further and just join it. So that's what I did. I was like, I just joined it, and then they keep sending you reminders to meet the deadline, which is kind of a pressure. But then I was like, that's actually good because sometimes I forget that, oh, I have a deadline today. So the emails keep coming, which is a great thing. So yeah, I've been able to push through. So yeah, I've pushed through like two of them. So let's see, maybe I'll start another one. But I
Good
take it
luck. Good luck.
one time at a week, not really to, just to put pressure on my head. Tell me about you. What have you been up to?
I have been doing quite a lot of things, working 8 to 5 basically during the weekends, then with my live videos, and I'm hoping to start a campaign soon. I lecture online. That's what I ask you because see, I lecture
Oh,
online now and it's pretty tough. It's not the same connection that you build with students, right? That's what I ask you because everybody thinks online learning is easy, but it's not. For me, it's not. It's not meaningful at all.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know how the kids do it, to be very honest, today's kids, how they do it. Because I like doze off. In 15 minutes, I'm like, I need coffee or something to stay awake. So I really don't know how the kids are doing it, all these online classes. So
Teachers
yeah,
have
it
been
is
doing
really,
an amazing job, actually.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So
Right,
yeah,
let's start. So,
yes.
hi everyone again. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited today because I've got the coffee queen with me. So, we are going to discuss her journey from finance to being a blogger, and she's kind of a celebrity in the coffee world and blogging world. So, I wouldn't. Yes, you are. So, I wouldn't. I want to hear from her what she has to say. So, Kate, over to you. So, can you just give me a small introduction?
Sure. So, as everybody knows, I am Kate One Shot Latte. I started this page in the year 2014. Sorry, 2016. I was planning it to start from 2014. That's when I moved to Doha. But it took me 2 years to analyze the market and to see what I can offer because I didn't want to do anything just for the sake of doing it. So I started this page in 2016. I started my Instagram. I started my website, One Shot Latte, and it's been 4 years. And it's this started as an impulse to just make friends and to meet people. But before I knew it, my work was appreciated. I got so much love online. So I decided to grow it further and further and pursue my interests more, all thanks to my blog online. And I have been a creative freelance writer from past 6 years. But the thing is, I do ghostwriting. So whatever I write does not go on my name. There's no name byline. There's no byline by my name. So I started One Shot Latte so that people can see that Kate is the one who's actually writing this and she's doing the content. And it has been very fulfilling since then. So this is my main stream of line. Freelance writing is my main income source. But this has been something which has been giving me satisfaction and fulfillment since past 4 years. And One Shot Latte, just to give a brief intro, is all about the world from my perspective, the world of coffee and food from my perspective. So yeah, that's about me.
What I want you to do here is, let's assume Kate and One Shot Latte are two different people, right? You're friends.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I want Kate, the friend, to give me a description of One Shot Latte.
So One Shot Latte, to be very honest, is a intensely passionate coffee person. She started her love for coffee in 2012 when Starbucks opened in Mumbai for the very first time. Walked inside, had the whiff of the coffee, and I was like, what is happening? What is happening here? Because I have been drinking coffee since I was a kid, but that has been instant coffee. You know what I mean? The kind of instant coffee our parents allow us to drink. But then when I went to Starbucks and I had that fresh aroma of coffee and everything, and I was like, this is a whole new world. And of course, the coffee culture is different, so they let you explore and do things. So that's where the triggering point of One Shot Latte started. And then I moved to Doha, and Doha is basically like an amazing place for coffee lovers because there are so many international brands, plus there are local brands, and they basically, people in Qatar have been drinking coffee forever, like forever and ever. So this gave me like a momentum. This gave One Shot Latte momentum. And about food, the food aspect of it is that I have been cooking since I was 12 years old. I belong to a Gujarati household. I'm not sure if people are familiar, but Gujarati is like a caste, a religion in India.
Are you guys vegetarians? Just for I'm curious about
Yes.
it. Gujaratis? Yes.
My
Okay.
parents are actually Jain, so they are much more stricter than just Gujaratis. But I grew in a vegetarian household, and we have this knack of making everything from scratch. Like
Okay.
everything you eat outside has to be made from scratch at home and has to be replicated in a way that you don't feel the need to go outside. So
Okay.
that is the level of skill you have to have in my household, in my entire family per se. So that's where the passion of cooking started. My grandmother was an amazing cook. My mom is an amazing cook. And of course, I learned from them over the years. And when I came here, I saw there are so many international cuisines. There is so much different from India. And it gave space for my curiosity, to be honest. And the best place, the best way to explore different food is by becoming a food blogger. Like if you have the knack and curiosity to try different cuisine, understand them, try to replicate that at home, that can give you like a great platform to basically let out your creativity. So that's how One Shot Latte, the whole coffee scene and food scene came together.
Kate, I do understand that food blogging is a big thing. Makeup and food is like a big thing that people blog about, and today lots of people, they want to venture out into this new field. But you were talking about 4 years ago, and it might have been a risk. I mean, from a career like finance, where you're established and the job is secure, and moving to a blogging background, how was it for you? Can you talk a little bit about why exactly? Yes, you spoke about you went into a coffee shop, but there must have been some deep rooted cause to it, right? Tell me about that and the fears that you had to overcome.
So I basically come from a finance and account background. Uh, my family has been all about finance and accounts back. I started working in finance and accounts since I was in high school. Let's just say my first year of college, I started doing part-time job, which was again in finance. So let's just say I graduated, and then my first job was finance job. So I've had like a 8-year work experience in finance. But then there was this one point where I had a really well-paying job. I had like a 40,000 per month salary.
Wow.
This is in Bombay. This is in Bombay. 40,000 per month salary, and everything was going really well. I had finished a year in that job, but it still was not like fulfilling. Like I'm just sitting in a bus and going home, and I'm thinking, I earn 40,000, but it's still not good enough for me. What am I missing? So that time I got a call from one of my college professors asking me if I was interested in financial writing, which is basically you get to write finance in freestyle. We were basically trying to create textbooks. So I jumped on that gun. I left my job because it was paying the same amount of money. That's the funniest thing. I think I'm lucky that way. It was paying the same amount of money. I jumped the gun, and that's how I jumped into writing. And honestly, from that point onwards, there was no looking back. And the reason to get into blogging again was this: the financial free writing I was doing again was never in my name. That was the thing. I was like, I need people to know that this is me who's writing. These are my words. And when you're a writer, it affects you that people are not knowing. People don't know that it's your words which people are reading. So I thought blogging will give me a space like that, which it actually has. Like people know that it's me who's writing it. So there was a difficulty. I will say there was a lot of fear too. I was afraid that what is the future of this? Like I don't know what's going to be, in the future. But I think opportunities kept coming up as and when I started going further. Like I never left behind freelance writing. I'm still ghostwriting for a lot of clients because I can earn money from it. But at the same time, there's a fulfillment because I have my blog, I have my creative outlet where people know that, she's the one who's writing it. So I hope I've answered your question because I can go like a...
Thank you. And thanks again for everyone who's joined us. So I'm with Kate. She's a very established blogger and one of my favorites that I've been following since I came to Qatar. So if you have any questions, guys, while I'm in discussion with her, please do write in your questions. So we will be taking in shortly. So going back to your brand, One Shot Latte. Yeah. Establishing a brand, especially when I know there are a lot of established bloggers, but I would like to hear it from you. It's not easy, right? Establishing yourself as a brand, selling it when you have no product value, but it's your value that you're trying to establish. Can you tell me like the journey, how it was, and can you probably sum it up as tips for our viewers, how you did it?
So I will of course talk about my journey, but here's the thing.
She's here as well.
Hi. So yeah, I talk about my journey because I think that would be most relevant. So what happened was when I was practically new, I was unsure. Okay, I was an amateur when I started out. Of course, it's not like I was like God sent or something. I was amateur. I was learning still. There were so many times when the whole concept of being a coffee and food blogger was made fun of. People were like, "What? what are you going to do? Like, what's the big deal about this, etc., etc. But I don't know why in my mind, the passion was so intense. And at the same time, because my passion was so intense, things and opportunities kept happening alongside. And I think the biggest and the most difficult thing in establishing your brand is having faith in yourself and having faith in your vision, because alongside it's life. So there are positive and negative things which are always happening. And again, it depends on what you focus on. So for me, alongside, there were people who are making fun of me, who are like, oh, what's the big deal? And she's just another blogger, XYZ. And hey, I am just another blogger. I mean, it's the truth, but what kind of just another blogger I am? That's the question I ask myself. I am not a regular food blogger, and I wanted to be from the start something different. I wanted to pursue something different. So that's what I kept focusing on. And I think the biggest challenge in establishing a brand is understanding your own value, your own worth. Maybe people around you will not support you. Maybe you will have setbacks. Maybe you will not get the things you aspire for, but always have faith in the fact that you will get your worth if you realize your worth. That's, I think, is the biggest challenge to do in any phase of blogging. I mean, even till date, there are times when I'm like, why am I doing this? But then I go back to the point that why did I start this brand in the first place? It was to showcase people something different from my perspective. This is what people love about my brand. This is what people love about me as One Shot Latte. And it's an exercise. I agree. It's really an exercise, but that's what has kept me going. So I think this is
a big process. It's not a one-time thing. And I think, Kate, you're a perfect example of the law of attraction. Like from what you were saying, believe in what you want to do and attract what you want to do. So I want to talk about something really important, but you have a question. So let me just read. Okay, question. How do you monetize your blog? How do you get brands to notice you? Do you approach brands or wait to be approached? Do number of followers matter? So I think she has 3 questions there. How do you monetize your blog? How do you get brands to notice you? Do you approach them or wait to be approached? And do your followers matter?
I will take this one question at a time, if that's okay. How do you monetize your blog? See, here's the thing. This is a very tricky question because in Doha, somehow it's a set norm that everything works for barter. But I selectively work for barter. I think because I invest so much time, effort, and my money as well, I think you just have to take a stand that you will work for money. You will work for money more than you work for barters. And this, honestly, it's not as successful as it might, feel. But then you have to take a stand. For me, I am doing my blogging as a passion, as a part-time. So my main source of income is something else. This is where I have an advantage and I can take a stand about the fact that I will only work for money. Because I have the skills, I also have the reach, I have the audience, and I know I can market a brand in a very amazing way because of my skills. So this is how I have been able to monetize my blog. I've taken a stand that I will not work for barter. So I hope that answers the question. How do you get brands to notice you? I think the brands notice you when you start putting soul in a product. Like I have a very simple product, let's say a coffee mug. But how do I present it? How do I see it from my perspective? I think majority of my traffic or my audience comes to my blog because they like to see my perspective. They love my perspective. They love how I see things and how I present it to them. And brands will notice you if, of course, you have one, good quality pictures, two, you have good audience reach, and three, of course, if you are persistent. I think persistence is a big thing, because if you're on and off, of course the brand will think, if she's an on and off blogger, then what's my point to, like, send my brand or my products to them. So persistence is, I think, one of the main factors in this as well. Other questions is, do you approach brands or wait to be approached? In my case, personally, I have not approached brands till date, and it's actually really okay to approach brands. I don't think that's a wrong thing. It's really okay to approach brands, and this can be a good thing, because then you can be selective with the kind of brands you want to work with. So it's totally an individual decision that you want to approach brands or you don't want to approach brands. And for me, I just wait for the brands to approach me, because I like and I find the satisfaction in the fact that they're noticing my work. And also because again, I will repeat, my income stream, my income source is something totally different. So I hope this answers the question. And the number of followers matter.
You have the power to decide, right? When you have something.
I think in even the both the cases, even when you're approaching a brand, you still have the power to approach the brands you like. You might not like a brand which is approaching you, so it gets tricky when you have to say no to them. You know what I mean? So in both ways, you have an individual choice for sure. And the number of this is a really tricky one, because right now I feel we are in the world of a lot of people buying fake followers. So I think I'm still trying to understand what brands are going after, because I know for a fact a lot of people have fake followers and they do not have the kind of reach. So for me, followers haven't mattered, to be very honest, because I feel the right agency will always have their own tool and their own software where they can understand the reach and the audience of a blogger. So I think honestly, followers for now is just a matter, because we are in a world full of bloggers who have a lot of fake followers. So yeah, I think you just
I agree with you completely, Kate, because from what I've been researching and the social media strategies that I'm trying to understand and people that I've been speaking to, because today it's not about followers. It's more about the engagement and a niche that you can create. Because right now, Instagram or social media is not just the only tool that you can get your clients. It's just a funnel, that you use to reach your clientele. You need to have lots of other various like emails, phone calls, connections. So this is something I even tell, my clients, don't only use Instagram or don't only opt for followers. Would you agree with me on that? It's just one media.
I think Instagram, the best part about Instagram is just, it's a platform. But again, it's only a platform. That's the point. It's only a platform. And then I feel right now Instagram is very saturated. So you cannot really depend on Instagram to get brands or to get collaborations. I think you need to have different channels if you really are focused on making your brand as a business, like as a proper business. So you need to have, like, nowadays TikTok is very famous, so you need to have a TikTok. I think the most important is to have a website. I would say a website. You get audience from you don't even know where, to be honest. I have audience from the US and UK, and I don't even know how they came to me, and it clearly feels like they came from my blog. So I think having a blog, a website is very important, and it also gives you a platform to talk about different things, Like, for instance, I talk about a lot of women-related issues on my blog, on my website, which I don't do on Instagram, because I feel Instagram is just not the platform for it.
Definitely.
So I think having different channels is right now in today's world is very much important than just being on one channel.
Definitely. It's marketing. It's saturated. So we need to be more inventive as bloggers, you know.
I cannot
Right.
even express how saturated Instagram is right now, to be honest. It's
Uh,
it's gone very
it's too
saturated.
much. You just get lost like that. Unless you're
Absolutely.
unique, you know, you're completely lost.
Yeah, or else you are buying insights, or you're buying the reach, or you're buying the likes and the engagement. Otherwise, you have like no market. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
it's
Definitely.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something that really excites me, CNN underscore. Okay?
Okay.
Did it come as a
Yes,
surprise?
it very much did. It very much did. I have actually not revealed this, and I think I'm revealing this on our live. Uh, I have no idea how they found me, to be very honest. It came as a blessing, to be very honest. I thank all my lucky stars and everything I believe in that it came to me. But they just found me, and it very much feels like an achievement, and it's something that makes me happy, and it will make me happy for years and years to come, for sure.
Definitely, it made me happy. I mean, I don't want to be biased, but you know, being Asians and you know, Middle Eastern, it's not that easy to reach the Western world because they're very, very. Like, I've been in the States and you know, working there. I know, though they don't speak of discrimination, there is, right? So,
There,
like you, there is definitely. So you crossing it, Kate, and I see on behalf of all the women and all the Asians, I want to give you, you know, a big clap
I
for
was
achieving
very
that,
happy.
getting there.
Honestly, I was more happy, more than representing myself or my brand One Shot Latte. I was, to be very honest, very happy about the fact, one, that there is women representation. And I also thank this to the women who approached me, because CNN underscore approached me, and these were the women who approached me. So there was a woman who approached me for writing a byline on me, and then again to be they also featured me on their Instagram. I took over their Instagram and I did stories and I made a recipe there. So this was again a woman. So it was like the best thing that could happen for a woman, that women are supporting them. Secondly, I was very happy about the fact that I'm an Asian and I'm representing all the Asians, which
Definitely,
is
definitely.
the biggest deal for me. Like, there cannot be any other standard which I would compare this to. So that
No,
was the
definitely.
biggest thing.
And you know, the best part about Asians or even Middle Eastern, you know, the communities, you are fighting against each other, but with one of us, you know, really shines and we want to feel part of it as well. Wow, it's one of our girls who's doing it. So it's just
Absolutely.
amazing,
And
I guess, the
I'm so
connectivity.
happy. Everybody blew up that post. Everybody was commenting. Everybody was sharing. So I'm sure they understood how amazingly we can support each other when good things happen to us. So I was very happy about that fact, because I am very sure they noticed. I'm very sure, because everybody was sharing it, everybody was commenting it, everybody was still messaging me even after so many days of it happening. So they definitely got a taste of our unity. So I'm very happy about that.
All right.
Absolutely.
So thanks, Kate, and good luck. And we wish you more and more features in international platforms.
Thank you so
So,
much.
what are some tips or strategies that you would give to budding, not just bloggers, even entrepreneurs who are trying to establish their brand? What are some strategies that you can share with them?
I'll again talk from my perspective, because this is what I have followed. Um, I First of all, I think my biggest best decision was the fact that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to stand out. This is what I wanted from the start, and that is why I've been able to make decisions which fulfill this cause, this reason. So I think it is important that you try to stand out when you are making content, or you are putting your content out there. You can even, the thing is, you can even follow a trend. Say, for example, the dalgona was like a crazy trend when the quarantine, the lockdown started. But the thing is, if you represent dalgona in your way, so that it represents you, or it's unique to how it comes from you, people are sure to love it. Like people are sure to love it. Absolutely. I know there is this understanding that, people with big following and big numbers are very famous, or, people think big of them. I beg to differ. I think people relate and people love uh, the bloggers' content who they can relate to, who they feel like, oh, this is what I would love to do too. Oh, I love what she's doing. I wish I could do too. I think this is what people relate to most. Be real on your Instagram. I'm not saying just put everything in your life out there. I don't put everything on my life out there. I don't.
You're
There are
still
so
a
many.
mysterious person, so that's why I have some hot seat questions for you. Wait till the end.
I'm nervous, but I will try them. So I think being real and being yourself is absolutely important. And to be honest, just have a vision for your blog. I think having a vision is very important. You can have a short-term vision or you can have a long-term vision. You can have whatever you want, but just represent yourself when you're putting your content is, I think, the best advice I would like to give is just be representative of your own self, your own soul through your content. I think that makes it stand out. That is how people will love you. There will be people who won't like it, but then that's not your focus. Just focus on what you want to do.
Definitely.
Instead of
So basically, you're saying make an emotional connection with your audience. That's the most important.
Absolutely. And to be honest, the reason why I even started my Instagram was whole and sole reason to get to know people, to connect with people. I know Instagram can be toxic. It has so many ups and downs. The community also matters where you are. But I think at the end of the day, it all depends on how you yourself are, how you yourself are representing yourself. So I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. And then other strategy I would suggest is not to just focus on one channel. If you really want to make your brand big, don't just focus on one channel. Make different channels for your blog. Like you can make a YouTube. It's so easy to make a YouTube right now. And then you can make a TikTok, which is again very easy right now. Have a website so that, there can be people coming onto your channels from different places. And when people love you, they literally want to follow you everywhere. I have seen that. They will follow you everywhere no matter where you are. It's a bit of a struggle because everything has become monetary right now. Everything is going to the stage where it's going to be monetary. But then there's no reason to not start, There's no reason to not start. You can always channelize and always strategize as and when you grow, as and when you progress.
It's never too late.
Sorry?
It's never too late.
It's never too late. It's really, I started TikTok like 1 month ago. And I'm like,
I just started 1 week ago.
No, I started 1 month ago and I'm absolutely loving it because, again, I think TikTok is an amazing place for content creators. And there is so much great content on TikTok. I cannot even imagine there is so much great content. And again, it depends on what you're watching. There are those cringy dances and people doing dumb stuff. But then I don't watch them. I just put them in the not interested column. So there's really amazing content.
Thank you. And hi, everyone who's joined us. Please type in your questions if you have anything for Kate. So we will be taking questions in a while. Thanks a lot. So yeah, now one of the most interesting topics that I wanted to talk to you about was, Kate, while we were having our conversation, right? Sorry, just a second. You were talking about how you're trying to, endorse positivity in your followers. And we were talking about self-love. And this is a special series on self-love. So I have introducing a new set of series where I want to talk about self-love from the perspective of real people, right? Self-love is this big trend now. Everybody talks about it, but we want to hear real people talking about what self-love really means to them, right? So according to you, Kate, what is really self-love?
Honestly, for me, self-love is a daily exercise. I think that is the best way to put it, because self-love cannot happen in a second. Self-love cannot happen in a matter of an hour. I have been trying to walk on the path of self-love since 4 years now. It's an everyday exercise. Self-love is honestly first of all, recognizing who you are. It's very important. I think you recognize the kind of person you are. And then second is trying to be that person. Trying to, block out everything that stops you from being that person. It's very easy to say to block out, but there are so many, there are so many roadblocks to do it. I'll give you an instance. Say, for example, I'll give you my example. When I started out, understanding that I don't want to be a people pleaser anymore. I do not enjoy, getting validation and getting approval from people. It does not make me happy. I thought it will make me happy, but it was not making me happy at all. It used to make me feel worse. So I started asking myself a question, that why am I doing that? What am I lacking inside me that I have to do that? That's when I realized that that's because I have not spent enough time to understand my own self. And the way I have to walk on this path is by, for instance, I realized that I don't like going out in groups. I am not a person who goes out in groups. If it's a birthday party or it's a friend's anniversary party or etc., that's all right. But going out as a group with a friend is something I cannot do. So the biggest roadblock for me was to say no to the people who are asking me to go out with them as a group. And that was my biggest challenge at that point of time, just saying no to them, that no, I cannot come. No, I don't want to come. You know what I mean? So that time it was the biggest challenge. But I did overcome that, and I started spending more and more time with myself. I started self-reflecting. I started thinking, what are the thoughts I'm thinking? What are the things that are going in my head? If I'm thinking something negative, how can I work on it to make it positive? So there are a lot of challenges when you are on path of self-love, and it takes a lot of practice to keep doing that. But again, to complete your answer, self-love is all about how do you understand yourself and how do you pave a path for yourself to become completely your own person. The person you are comfortable with, the person you are happy with. And
yeah, but I guess it's not easy. It's not easy. It would have not been easy, right? Yeah.
It was difficult. It was very, very difficult, but it takes time. But believe me, if the end result is you becoming self-confident and you becoming happy, why not just do it? If it's going to give you self-confidence and happiness, why would you not do it? That's my question to everybody. Why would you not want to do that? I would like to point out here one thing which I have observed, that in the name of self-love, people mistreat other people and call it self-love. They take advantage of other people and call it self-love. They even basically bring people down to make themselves feel good, and then they still call it self-love. I think that is not self-love. That is not at all the definition of self-love, and I think they need to really work on themselves if that is what they think is self-love. So
thanks for bringing that up, Kate, because self-love, some people, what the most important thing I think they need to understand is that self-love is when you do something within your boundaries. The moment you're stepping into someone else's boundary, it doesn't become self-love. That's when it becomes selfish, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is what people don't understand. And if you're going to, people ask me when I do my counseling, because I do counseling, right? So when most moms, when I do counseling, what they ask me is like, see, I feel guilty about, watching TV. I feel guilty about going out with my friends. So, but I say
Right.
no. What would you say to
Yeah.
that? Let me not answer.
Uh,
Let me give you an opportunity.
to be very honest, the guilt comes because you think that this is something you're not supposed to do. Whereas the fact is that you are doing it so that you can be 100% when you go back to your kids or you go back to your family. Otherwise, if you're just going to be irritated and annoyed and you're going to go back and yell at them, it is not going to help either of them. It's not going to help you
So true.
because
So
you
true.
feel more guilty of being angry and frustrated at them. And then it becomes a habit and it becomes a cycle. Instead, take out time, take out 1 hour for yourself, do whatever you want to do, and then go back to them feeling fulfilled and feeling 100% yourself. I mean, I, for example, you will not believe, sometimes my days are so hectic, my week is so hectic that I just drop everything. I literally drop everything, and the only thing I will be doing is sitting with a bag of Cheetos or nachos and watching K dramas or Netflix or whatever is on Netflix. I literally do that, and when I'm done with it, my energy is like doubled, and I can finish my work in more than the time I had anticipated to finish it. So why feel guilty? Why feel guilty when it's actually going to energize yourself and make you feel happy? Like there's no feeling guilty to do something that will make you happy.
Exactly.
If you are happy, you will be happy with
Thank
your
you.
children. You will be
Thanks a
happy
lot.
with
Thanks a lot for sharing that. That is so true. It's like, you're
yeah.
a torch. I always think of myself as a torch. And if you don't keep changing the batteries, you're not productive to yourself or the others.
No, no, absolutely. I'm very infamous about dropping everything if I don't have, like, I don't feel full 100%. Because if I am not 100%, how am I going to pass that energy to somebody else? That is my question. Like,
Absolutely.
how am I going to meet? Say tomorrow I'm coming to meet you, but I'm not 100%. I'm like just like not having the day. It's a really shitty day, and I come to meet you, and I'm just like slouching and just being like not speaking, not talking to you, etc. It's a waste of time for you, and it's a waste of time for me as well. So it doesn't help. It's really like, what's the point of that? To be very honest.
I just want to bring up something that when my son was about 16 and he was throwing out these tantrums and I was really busy with work because I had to travel and I actually went and saw a friend of mine who's a counselor. And what she told
Right.
me was, see, you're doing what's really important. I don't want you to feel guilty about it. What I recommend is twice a week, give half an hour of your time to your son. Just do whatever he wants. If he wants to watch his stupid Japanese drama, sit and watch with him. If he wants to play Nintendo, because what she said was, quality time, that half an hour a week you give is more important than, when you are spending time with him, but you're not with him. And that has stuck through me all these years. So I think it's so
Absolutely.
important. The quality time, not your kids, even your friends, or even if you're giving to your spouse, right, Kate?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the time which you actually spend with yourself is so underrated that people don't realize it. Like, just sit with yourself for 1 hour, just alone. No phones, no nothing. Just sit with yourself for 1 hour. And believe me, that has worked so miraculously for me that when I meet somebody or when I'm with somebody, I am my complete self. Because more than anybody else, I'm giving myself that time. I'm actually understanding myself. I'm going with a good energy and a good vibe to meet another person. Why do that? Why not do this? Conserve yourself and understand yourself and be with yourself rather than just being slouchy and moody and going and meeting somebody. I think that is really unfair to both the parties.
Definitely.
It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, there's something that I want to read. I saw someone, Taskeen is saying it is important to conserve your emotional energy so you can spend it constructively. Yes, so true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sadia
I
says,
see.
true, we should give time to ourselves to discover what we are, what we want. Thanks, Sadia, for
Yes,
that.
absolutely. Yeah. I see a lot of my friends, Afros, Alia. I see
Alia,
this.
hi. Everybody
I
who's joined us is still with us.
yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so
Thank you so
much.
much.
There's a
Yes.
question how to overcome strangers in social media.
What do you mean when you say overcome strangers? Like approach strangers or
I think what she means is strangers who message you. Is that what you're saying, Sadia? Ashfa? Sorry? Are you talking about strangers who try to get through to you?
if there's a stranger who's trying to get through to you and you're uncomfortable, just don't open the message. This is what I do. I just don't open the message. Or if they're already in your message box and they're trying to talk to you, there's a block button for it if it's making you uncomfortable. Like, I know it is a difficult decision, but there's a reason why Instagram has provided you with a block button. You don't have to go through it. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. You don't have to uh, tolerate it. Basically, I know we women are taught to tolerate it. We women are taught that, oh, we should not do it, but you just block them. Why do you need to tolerate a negative energy or a negative person or anything negative in your life? You just don't
Definitely.
have to tolerate it.
She's saying whoever demotivates or whoever insults. Why would you want to take it? Like, I agree with Kate.
Uh, Honestly, I've seen this insult part. I don't know why people are so comfortable insulting. I don't understand such type of people, and honestly, I don't want to. But people who are in the habit of doing that, and I get it because I don't want to say something insulting to them because then there's no difference between them and me.
Why
Uh,
lower yourself?
exactly. So you just, to be very honest, there's also a restrict button on Instagram. If somebody's insulting you or trying to get on your nerves, there's a restrict button, there's a block button. You need to just do that,
There's a
honestly.
report feature as well. Report them.
Oh yes, absolutely. This is the thing I want to tell people, and especially to women, that we are born and raised and we are taught to tolerate a lot of stuff which actually makes us uncomfortable. But here's the thing, you don't have to. You can always unlearn that. You don't have to tolerate it. You have to learn to not tolerate it. And you can do in the start when you are learning to not tolerate it, you just do whatever fits you. Whatever fits you, whatever.
It gets difficult at Kate first, right? But later on, I guess once you start doing it, it becomes easier.
Yeah, and that's because then you go to a place where you understand that this is not for you. This kind of vibe or this kind of words or this kind of people are not for you. So
Definitely.
then it becomes easy for sure.
Okay, there is another question. Just a second. I have a question to you both. From zero to reaching, it is a great journey, but people do unfollow us too. So basically, what is the most important thing we need to keep in mind while blogging? Yeah, I'll come to that question. Wait, there's one more question. Just hold on to what we were discussing.
Mm-hmm.
True, we should give time to ourselves for this. Hold on. Reported so many guys for being disrespectful, the most important.
Oh, good job. Nobody should disrespect you. Nobody that has
I
the right
just
to
wanted
disrespect
to
you.
share something because now we were talking about men, and even Taskeen had said about men who message you, it's easier to block. I want to share my experience, Kate. There was a girl who had messaged me. I was chatting with her. She was saying I'm inspirational. And then she said, can I give you a foot massage? So I was like, what? Even girls do message you, so you have to be a bit careful, and it is okay to block them. Do you have any
Thank you.
experience
I
with
think the
that?
best answer would be no, thank you. I mean, I'm good.
I
It's,
didn't
I
say
don't
that. I
understand.
said I'm fine. I'm fine. My husband does that every night, so I'm fine, perfectly okay with it.
Um,
So it's
yeah,
fine,
so
even if
I
it's
was,
girls. Just keep your
yeah.
dignity head high
I,
up. It's okay too.
I know, it's very easy to just hide behind your phone and be a person, the kind of person you want to be. But I think it's also important to throw your phone aside and think if what you're doing is how do you not even respectful, or is it like even mature, or even like uh, legal to approach somebody like that. I mean, I think this
Exactly.
is happening a lot because because we just we're behind our phones and we're just doing all sort of things. But yeah, I think people really need to think what kind of person they are being by being behind their phones. So
I We have 10 minutes, yeah. So I really enjoy talking with you. I don't want this to end, but anyway, going back
from
to a question that was sent to you about
sure.
followers. She was asking about losing followers. So what do you have to say?
I'll give you an example. I have been in the past 1 month been jumping from 12.1 to 12 back and forth like nobody's business. Then I was just wondering why is this happening with me from 1 month, and I went and saw my statistics. So apparently there are 75 people who followed me and there were 65 people who unfollowed me. And I just looked at it and I'm like, this is still going on. The follow and unfollow business is still going on. So here's the thing. If people are following you just to take a follow back, just to have you follow them back, what's the point? I mean, I am a person who does not mind supporting even a 100 follower or a 200 follower who's less than 1,000. I have no problem. But here's the thing: if your profile is full of Maggie pictures or just pizza pictures, I'm sorry, that's not the content I come from or Instagram. I don't come for this content on Instagram. And another flip side is there are amazing content creators on Instagram. I choose to follow them. So if you are losing followers, just tell yourself that those followers are not for you. If they're just coming to have a follow back, is that the path you want to go on? Then you can follow and keep following back and forth and be like at 15K or 20K. And then you will
Definitely.
have reached the limit of 7,500 following on Instagram, of course. But then you just have to ask yourself that, what path do you want to choose? I like to keep my feed fresh. I love watching people's content who are doing amazing out there. And I love leaving a like and comment on them because I actually really enjoy the content. And this is what I want to keep going on for me. So I'm sorry, if I'm not going to follow somebody, then that's about it. I don't want to follow them. And if they don't, they are just following you for the sake of having a follow back. That's
Then
a
what's the
shame,
value
honestly.
that you're creating for yourself? Because
Exactly. Exactly. What
yeah,
is the value of creating also? If you're going to be just a follow and follow each other blogger, then nobody's going to notice your content. Nobody's going to notice your effort. Nobody's going to see the amount of time you're investing in it. And everything is ends up just like a whole bag of trash. It's pointless.
definitely, definitely. Thanks, Kate. And what is the legacy? We just have 5 minutes. I don't want to get cut off. What is the legacy you want to leave behind One Shot Latte? And I want to tell you, latte is my favorite coffee. So
Mine is
I
true. Mine is
love
true.
latte. So that's my
I'm
latte
telling you,
is
it's a high five.
yes. So tell me, what's the legacy you want to leave behind?
I think one of the main legacies I want to leave behind is I want people to see me as an independent, strong woman who can achieve anything she sets her mind to be honest. The whole reason I put a lot of content out there is to tell women that you can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it too. You have to understand that you don't have limitations you are setting for yourself. You can achieve whatever you want to. You don't have to be petty with each other. This is my biggest concern, women being petty and insecure with each other and jealous with each other. The thing is, we don't have to be like that with each other because we don't understand the fact that if we are together, if all of us are supporting each other, they it can really lead to amazing things. You can yourself become a better person, and the whole community can become an amazing community. So it's not the fact that I don't want to leave a legacy behind which will tell people that, I'm an insecure and I'm a jealous, I'm an codependent woman. I want people to understand that you can be very independent, you can be very strong willed, and you can follow the path. Basically, you choose. You can live a life you want to. This is the legacy I want to leave behind, to be very honest.
Amazing legacy, Kate. Thank you for sharing that. United we can do so much better. And like I would say, just to add on a little, even if you feel you have nothing to share with the world, don't feel small about yourself. You are unique.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you have just stand up and keep your head straight. You will shine. This is what I want to say to everybody.
Everybody is honestly unique, and they need to find their uniqueness, because believe it or not, you fail to see it, but you are unique. So I think this is the most important thing people need to understand.
Okay, your hot seat. Now we have, I think, about 3 minutes. See,
Yes, please.
if I have a voucher for you today to, let's say, to Shark Village, who would you take? One night stay.
One night I would go by myself, to be honest, because I need a time off. Like, I'm not kidding. I need a time off. My brain has been instantly processing. Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
I like both, to be honest, but I'm more on the coffee side. Tea is with my parents, and it's only reserved for them. So yeah.
Right. So if you want to be, if you are given a chance to be a superhero, and you have to save a cause or save the world for one particular thing, which superhero and what would you be saving?
Wow, super. I would definitely be Wonder Woman, and I would be there trying to support all the other people who are trying to be superheroes. I think that will be good cause enough.
Okay, like the Avengers.
Absolutely.
Right. So who would you, if anyone in the world can make a cup of coffee for you, who would you choose? You can choose anyone.
Oh my God. Make a cup of coffee. I think it would be myself.
No,
I think because
make a cup of coffee for you. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a very tough question. I can think of so many baristas actually who I'm friends with. Oh wow, cup of coffee for myself, just for the fun of it, is it? Just for the fun of it.
You can have anyone to make a cup of coffee with you.
Can I say Ryan Reynolds then?
Who?
Is it okay to say Ryan Reynolds?
Okay. It's fine. It's fine. I said anyone. Come on, we have the power.
Or anybody from K-drama. Like, I'm crushing on them lately because they're unreal. The guys are like unreal. Honestly, they're unreal. So anybody from them.
We have just 20 seconds, Kate. So I just want to thank you. I had more questions, but I guess as always we got carried away. Thank you guys for joining. You can watch the recorded session on my YouTube channel. I'll be uploading it shortly. Shafma Diaries. My name is Madhya Farooq. Lots of people think I'm Shaf. And thanks a lot, Kate.